And at that time, I wasn't playing a lot of ranked. I didn't play ranked in Rocket League for 800 hours. It's like another story.
Whoa. Welcome back to Outside the Grind. We've got our second guest, the lovely queen, Neato. Neato, thank you so much for joining me. How are we feeling today?
I'm good, man. I'm honored to be your second guest. What the heck? That's awesome.
Of course. I think something that was important to me when starting all of this was to, when I first started, to just get comfortable with it. And I think the best way to do that is like start with people that you have good rapport with. You know, I would consider us friends. I've been,
I'm just kidding.
I have had such a good time at LAN events, and I feel like part of why I feel as comfortable as I do is because of how you treated me the first time that I went. I went to LA as the first time that I'd been to a LAN as a creator. I went to one in season 7, but I was just fandom, and at that point, really, I wasn't even very involved. Like I wasn't really involved in any stream communities or anything like that, so I didn't really have a bunch of buddies. But LA was such an awesome experience, and you were so kind to make sure that I felt comfortable and like introduce me to people and stuff. So I feel very comfortable around you, and I am super just grateful for your kindness.
Of course, man. I mean, you're Hootie. I had to let everybody know. Also, I kind of like Lance. I kind of like sometimes I black out the experience. So it's like I was introducing you to people. Oh my god, I'm so nice. Like I don't even remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not because I drink too much or anything. I just have a poor memory. I just like I do too much in a day, and then it completely leaves my brain until I think about it again. But yeah, no, I at Lens I find my people, you know, and
Yeah.
you're good people. So
I mean, I don't want to push any buttons here, but I do think part of it is that we're both a little bit older.
yeah, it's true. Because like sometimes I'll meet some people or like
Yeah.
and some of the pros, and then I kind of realize like, yo, this kid is 17. Nice to meet you, and then I'll turn around and I'll leave because I'm like, I'm not hanging out with a kid. Not because I don't think it like some of them I can generate a good conversation with, but other times it's just like, you know, we both like Rocket League, and that's where that sort of conversation ends.
I mean, the thing is too, and it may seem silly. I talk about this on my stream as well, but like I'll feel self-conscious. You know, I'll be like, oh, I'm this old guy. They don't want me around. Like, you know, I'm not gonna bug them. If it just feels like, I don't know, it feels like I don't belong in some cliques, in some spaces. So
oh yeah,
it's always great to be surrounded by folks that you can relate to, even if it is because we're all boomers, which is crazy too. I mean, you're in your 20s. I just turned 30. That's not even old.
No, not at all. And I like to remind myself every day. I'm like, I don't care what these pipsqueaks say. I am not that old. I mean, I'm 27. I'm 20 this year. So I'm good. Like I said, I'm good close to 30, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm a little bit looking forward to it because I hear everyone gets their shit together in their 30s, and I'm kind of wanting my shit to be together right now. So, but I'm enjoying it. You know, I take my time. I just don't ever want to like regret growing old. I think it's a privilege. So,
yeah, I totally understand that. I think something that when we talk about like ambitions and whatnot in life, I can remember having a conversation with my dad about like the single thing that I feel like drives me the most is just, and this same thing would be different for everyone as far as what actions they take, but when I lay down to be done and die and everything is over, I just don't want to look back and think I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have been more serious about X, Y, or Z or whatever. And so yeah, but I want to touch on the the 30 thing. So you said you're not really like nervous about it or anything, and I felt similar. It was definitely, I don't know, it definitely felt like it's different from turning 28. It's different from turning 29. Like you hit 30, and I know it's not old, but for me, what it felt like was you have to let go of youth at that point. Like you are, like when you're a teenager, obviously young. In your 20s, I think you can still identify as somebody that's very young. But I felt like when I hit 30, like that was when my brain was like, okay, you're not a kid anymore. Like you really are fully grown. You're an adult, you know. And sometimes I still act like a kid, but you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, where it's like you never grow out of like a certain like mindset age. I guess like there's a lot of people who are like, well, I'm 50 and I still feel like I'm 17 or I feel like I'm 21 still. But it doesn't mean like you're not a young adult anymore. You're a full adult, you know.
Yeah.
Your worries and priorities have shifted. You're
Yes. Whoa.
way yeah. You're like way more like you know who you are
Yeah.
more instead of being like who am I or like comparing yourself to everybody else. You're like why did I care so much about that? Like
Yeah.
even now like I'm thinking to myself every single day like um I've been conditioned we've all been conditioned one way growing up to think
Mhm.
certain way, but we're like totally in control of that.
Yeah.
You can just decide to think something else if you want to. You don't have to be bound to the ideas and wishes and thoughts of everybody around you. You have complete control. So it's a big realization. It takes so long because you're so consumed with like
Yeah.
nothings when you're growing up. So
Yeah. Well, when we're kids, I mean, we're just heavily influenced. We don't have a ton of life experience, but I got excited when you said priorities because I was going to share. So obviously, I'm 30, but it's like I'm just now here. I'm not, I'm not even 31 yet. So it hasn't been long, but something that was like it was like immediate. I don't know if it was like already on its way in or what, but it seriously like as soon as I hit, my priorities shifted, and a lot of the things that um even in 20s, mid 20s, and even late 20s, I guess, that I would scoff at or mock or think like sure that might work for some people, but I don't need it or whatever it may be. A lot of those things became like immediately just became important to me. And so I mean, I don't want to like overstate this and make it some crazy claim, but I have definitely had like some profound lifestyle changes. And it was a slow, I would say, like I said, it was overnight as far as like what became important to me, but it was like a slow transition. It wasn't like I just decided to start doing all these things and the next day I was perfect at it.
mhm.
Um, I kind of went through, and I imagine a lot of people did throughout COVID, but I went through some struggles with throughout 2021 with just my identity as an individual, my identity as a creator, trying to make this work because everyone looks at you when you leave your job as like, well, you're an idiot. What are you doing? And so I
Yeah.
already felt a lot of pressure on myself from just like external doubts. Um, and then those, like, if you're not careful, can quickly turn into like your own doubts. And then the problem was we had the free to play boom. And then obviously it's going to come down, right?
Mhm.
Like it was absurd what that did for viewership across all mediums, and then it's just gonna cool down. It was going to. There's nothing that I did wrong or whatever. And so I just really struggled with dealing with this type of trend because it was my first time living by myself. I had previously lived like in a fraternity house with roommates, friends around, people to lean on, people to have conversations with and keep your
Mhm.
mind busy. And so now I'm living by myself, which also was unexpected, by the way. I wasn't anticipating that was part of why I quit, was because like I knew I would live with roommates and I could,
Mm.
share the bills. But that
Yeah.
changed really quick, unexpectedly. So I was not prepared for it. So that was tough. I was not enjoying coaching like I thought I would. Obviously the doubts and then the trending downwards. And I was not doing well. So I slowly started to make some changes. Like first was like waking up early, and then it was water, and then it was stretching, and then it was journaling. And these things weren't all like boom, 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 boom. But over time, I have just accumulated an amount of habits that I would consider like I'm proud of them, and I think they've been super helpful for keeping my head above water, but also even when like I go underneath and I'm like really upset and struggling, I feel like I bounce back up faster.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like
Yeah.
I'm better equipped to deal with these things.
It's
But
it's crazy that you mentioned like all that stuff that like during the pandemic. I think a lot of people had kind of a mental shift because being isolated,
yeah,
um especially as a creator, I
mhm,
didn't that whole year for me, after it all kind of was said and done, I didn't realize how inactive I had been and how
yeah,
much that was actually affecting my mental health.
mhm,
Um, and I live with my husband Kevin, and we live in a house, but I moved away like from all my family and friends
mhm,
to be here. So like I was also dealing with like just solid like being completely alone
yeah,
for long periods of time and having to fight the demons. But
yeah,
it I think it the same thing happened to me. Like I was like, I just gotta start like little by little improving my habits As humans, we're very habitual creatures. So like,
Yeah.
it's so easy to get addicted to a routine that isn't beneficial to you. Just like, waking up super late and stuff. Thankfully, Kevin goes to work at like, we wake up at 5 a.m. every morning.
Oof.
But like, now I'm a morning gym person. Never thought that would happen, but I go to the gym in the morning now. Because it just starts my day off right.
Yes.
After the pandemic, I got officially diagnosed with ADHD. It's an inattentive type, so I struggle with keeping my focus, especially on things that like I don't want to do. So I became very like you said, we were talking about earlier, but like you said, like lazy. I felt like I was lazy, but it wasn't that. It was like a product of not understanding what was wrong. And now that I know, I can make adjustments in my life to make it so much easier for me to actually build up those routines. Because it's not impossible when you have ADHD.
Right.
It's just a little bit harder because in this society, you're expected to be going from 9 to 5 every day or however, even longer nowadays.
Yep.
And that's just not possible. So I have to make adjustments to be able to stay productive, but like in a healthy way and not beat myself up about it. There's a lot of like negative self-talk that comes with that. So it's been getting a lot better though. And I'm glad I'm not the only one going through that.
I think these things too that you're describing are like just further exacerbated or just more dramatic doing this career, right? Like the negative self-talk, very easy because there's like visual numbers that you can see and you attach your identity to those. And then when they go down, you're like, oh, I suck. And then when they go up, you're like, oh, I'm great. And they go back down. So you're like all over the place. And then again, like you said, like you're by yourself. So, when I was working in the school district, I just had to be there at 7:15 and I just had to, and once I got there, the day is easy. You just have to, there are things you just have to do. It's so
nice when there's a schedule made for you.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to do it.
It's the best.
And
I miss that.
this is very different, right? You don't have to do it. I mean, you need to, and I think everybody knows that they need to, but it's just more challenging. And then on top of that, like you said, you mentioned it, the isolation, and throughout COVID, there was definitely times. I mean, I go 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks without seeing a human, which is got to be unhealthy. That can't be good.
No, we were not made to be alone. I tell people that year I realized that I was called Neato more than I was called like my first name.
Yeah.
And I heard my first name like after a while, and I was like, I almost didn't respond to it. It was weird. It was really weird.
I can definitely
I only
relate
talk to people online, and they all refer to me as Neato.
Yeah.
Even Kevin sometimes calls me Neato.
That's cute.
Yeah, but I think he tries to call me by my first name.
Yeah.
But.
So we mentioned Kevin a couple times, and this is just too special to not talk about. I know we try not to go too far into Rocket League and the professional career, but I think this is one of the most. This is one of the most heartwarming, just beautiful things ever. So Kevin is Neato's husband, and you just walk us from the very beginning. How did you guys meet? And then, just kind of give us that journey as far as how you came to be wedded.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. I mean, obviously, you know a little bit about it. The whole story, it's a bit of a whirlwind. I've kind of accepted it. It's a little gushy, but one day. So, long story short, Kevin and I met playing in a casual Rocket League match. It was a casual twos match. But the longer story, I queued up one day. I think it's December 7th, and I know the exact time because when I talked to Durkin, who was a community manager at the time, he found the exact match we met in and got the good details of it, which was really cool. But it was weird because it was during the week. It was during a time I probably would have been working, but was off for some reason. I was working at Starbucks at the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kevin was playing with his friend Zach, and I was queued in casual twos by myself, and I was playing with them. And Zach, in his name, it said ZZZ, which is his online name, and then it said #1 blind player. And I was confused because he was doing and this was back in 2018. Yeah. So he was doing stealing shots and double taps and going crazy on the casual twos field. And so I'm like, okay, how blind are you? I literally just was like, well, what's going on here? You can't actually be blind. But turns out, Zach, he's one of my homies now. He's like my bro.
Yeah.
But he has like a degenerative eye disease, so his vision is getting worse and worse and worse.
Oh.
And he has like a pinhole sight and it's kind of blurry everywhere else. That's how he describes it. So his camera settings are whack. Like when you go and like see how he plays the game, actually, it's so different.
Yeah.
But because he has played so long, like as long as he's on the ball, he could do stuff with the ball. I think it's so cool. So I started a conversation in casuals, and at that time, I wasn't playing a lot of ranked. I didn't play ranked in Rocket League for 800 hours. It's like another story. I was the epitome of a casual in that game. I didn't know about the esports. I have been playing since 2015. Like I didn't know anything. All I knew was car and ball, and I went online with my friends and we played like private matches or against bots.
Yeah.
Or casuals. So that's where I met Kev. And so started the conversation, and then I kept queuing because you don't really run into nice people starting cool conversations. Like they were just being nice to me. And at that time, I did have like a profile picture was me, and my name was Neato Queen Online. So I would get a lot of shit, obviously, because people assumed I was a girl. Either that or it would be really like creepy and weird. But for them, I was getting like just like regular normal human being vibes. So it was like 4 or 5 games maybe we queued together.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, did you want to queue 3s with us? We're like in a Discord call. And at that point in my life, I was not in a good place. I was living with my ex at the time. It was like not a good situation, but it was thankfully, I think at that point he was in the process of moving out. I don't know, but I was not in a good place and I wanted friends, and I had moved like into the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. So that's where I was. And I was like, yeah, I just want people to talk to and like get my mind off of things. So I joined their Discord. So it's like a lot of things had to align because there's a lot of things like I'm thinking about, like maybe if I wasn't, you know, in that position, I probably wouldn't join the Discord or I wouldn't have been queued that day. So then I did, and I started talking to them and hanging out, and getting to know Kevin was really interesting. He and I are both found out we were musicians. He was in a band that played music that's my favorite genre of music. So that I was like, oh, that's really cool. And on the inside, I'm like fangirling, basically. And then we both worked in coffee, so that was also something we could talk about. He was working in coffee, and so was I. And at that point, my path was I was gonna own my own Starbucks and like barista forever. Yeah. But thank God I didn't do that. We just started talking, and he has a very nice voice. If you ever hear Kevin talk, he's got a nice voice. So one day I asked for his Snapchat, and because I was curious, I wanted to know what he looked like. He didn't have his profile picture wasn't like his face or anything. Yeah. But yeah, then he's like, well, I don't have Snapchat, but I'll download it for you. And he got it, and we started talking, and yeah, the rest is history. After a while, like, I went to go and visit him, like for the first time. And the crazy thing about the whole thing, so the first time we met, Zach, who is still our friend, we still play Rocket League with him to this day. We found out that he actually lived like 3 miles from me in Wisconsin. Whoa. And Zach and Kevin had been friends for like a year or two, online friends. Yeah. So it was like the craziest coincidence. I was like, really? Like the way that the matchmaking worked, it was weird. So literally matchmaking. No, but he then made an excuse, like, well, now I can go and see Zach and I'll come and see you. And I was like, yeah. We all hung out. It was really, really cool.
That is amazing. And we got to say, first and foremost, thank you to Zach and Kevin for being nice and normal. Yeah, why are so many guys weird online? Y'all stop that.
I think it's just... I mean, I don't know if I want to get into that conversation right now because it's such a deep thing, the way that like young men are kind of raised or whatever, but that's not everybody. It's not everybody. And Kevin and Zach are definitely proof of that. And every time I tell the story about meeting Kevin online, or people that realize our story, I'll get stuff like, you know, oh, I want a girl that plays games, whatever, or I wish my wife would play games with me or stuff like that. And it's like you don't know who you're talking to online ever.
Yeah.
There's also so many people that you could potentially be attracted to who are just like completely anonymous online. So the best thing that you could do to like raise your chances for that happening is to just be nice to people, make friends, have those connections. Like I try and explain to dudes like it's not a good idea to like lead things off with like physical attraction. It's always better to just make friends and be open to having relationships with people in general.
Yeah.
And it could turn into something, or you could potentially find out, oh, this person I've been gaming with for months, it's somebody I could be attracted to. You know, it's like things like that where it shouldn't be a pursuit of a gamer girl,
Right.
or anything like that. It should just be the pursuit of happiness and having friends and being open to just being nice. And people, it blows my mind, like how people don't see it. But
I know
Kevin and I's story is not unique. I'm not the only person with the Rockets engaged in Rocket Wife title. There have been others, and like I know so many people met in World of Warcraft and stuff like that. Like it's so possible. It makes sense. You're in an environment where if Kevin and I realized we were both basically spending all of our time playing Rocket League, so it works.
Yeah.
So if you want a person that games, you gotta be gaming.
It's not a physical space, but it's a similar concept, right? Like if you go to the gym all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying pursuit, but like you have the same interests as people that are at the gym, whether it's a friend or, a potential partner in the future, who knows? Same with the library, same with the bar, same with church, whatever it may be. This is just not a physical space. It's just like a digital space. But one thing I do want to highlight, and we can move on to the next thing, but I think it's very important to talk about how you mentioned with Kevin and Zach, you were just getting normal human vibes. And like that's your advice, is just be nice, treat people the way that you would to their face, be kind. My like driving like moral compass, or whatever you want to call it, it's just like the golden rule. Like if I wouldn't want someone to do it to me, I probably wouldn't do it to them. So like I don't want people to like trash talk me or be rude or say hurtful things. So I'm just not going to do that to other people. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's easier said than done, but like that's just such a simple concept to just try to be kind. You never know what someone's going through, and just treat people nice. I think it's again, it's just so simple. I don't know, but anyways,
it's simple, and we can stop talking about it. It's simple, but I'm one of this person. It's kind of a detriment to me sometimes, but I try and think of every single possible perspective that anybody could have. And I just know the people that don't get that concept, where it doesn't come easily to them, like they probably had some rough situations in their life that created them that way. So I always like think to myself, like, I'm super privileged to have this like outlook.
Yeah.
I do recognize, like, when I was in my teen years, like 15 to 17, I was very like politically active, and I was not a nice person online sometimes to people.
Yeah.
You can look it up. And I never said anything horrible, but it was just like I would get into arguments with people and call them dumb, which like never got anywhere for me. So then after I realized like it's not that they're dumb, it's just that they're misinformed, and it's actually not their fault. Like, so you can't have those arguments with people. And once you get to the root of everything, you can logically start, working through those things that made you that way. So you don't have to be that way. That's what's like growing older gives you that hindsight that you don't have when you're a kid. So yeah,
very true. I think I guess the word to describe what you're talking about is just empathy, right? And so just trying to be empathetic and understand that there may be something that you don't realize about that person, and maybe that is causing them to lash out or whatever it may be.
Right, but you can't be that person to heal them. They gotta do the work on their own. That's why I just like don't engage with people that I realize like they're just being mean because they probably are going through it. So I'm just like, go through it somewhere else, my friend.
So let's we talked about Kevin, and that's obviously a little bit more recent as you got older, but let's rewind a little bit back to the childhood. I like talking about that and some of the things that we went through growing up. So what are some of the activities or sports or things that you did throughout school? What were some of the things that you like to do?
Well, I've been a gamer since I was a little kid. Actually,
Yeah.
thanks to my mom. My mom played the original like Mario games, and
Mhm.
then when we were old enough, she got us our first Nintendo 64 and played through all those games with us.
Nice. What
But
was
I
some of
was
your favorite
also
64 games?
well, Mario 64. I like Pokemon Coliseum, or was it just Pokemon Stadium? I think it was just Pokemon Stadium for
Okay.
N64.
Yeah.
Um, I think there was an Animal Crossing for N64, but it was like the first one.
Yeah.
I definitely played a ton of GameCube. I think GameCube I got a lot of more core memories.
Yeah.
Banjo Kazooie, another N64 game I really liked. Um, trying to think. Of course, like Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time and all those games.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I owe my mom to like just my love for gaming, and my brother and we're both pretty athletic. I grew up playing soccer and basketball, and
Okay.
um I did that for a long time. I thought I was going to be doing something good with basketball, but I sustained an injury my sophomore year of high school, and I
Oh,
kind
no.
of just yeah, it was a back injury. It was not good. I ended up just not being able to play for like a whole year. And then after that, I had to take it easy basically
Yeah.
and just strength train, which I did. But then I think since then, that's when my like decline in being active started. I played ultimate frisbee when I got into
I
college.
love frisbee.
Yeah, I love ultimate. I like frothing now. Kevin's gotten me into disc golf because we live by a lot of really nice courses.
Yeah.
Um,
That's hard, isn't
but
it?
yeah,
Disc golf's
and then
freaking
I had to
hard.
stop. Well, I also that, and I had to stop ultimate because ultimate's like I'm pretty sure ultimate frisbee is like the number one sport people get injured in because of
Really?
how aggressive it is. Like you
It
have to
is.
jump really high, and
Yeah.
it'll like break your knees. Like it like so. If you're not throwing, if you're a receiver, you're
Yeah.
at risk for a lot of like injuries.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I threw, but I stopped playing because I was like, I'm gonna get hurt. Like this
Yeah.
is gonna be bad, and I'm already injured, so I stopped, and I've been pretty active. I'm glad now that I've been going to the gym now for like almost 2 years now, but like it started slow. Obviously, like you're talking about doing little
Yeah.
things and just building up that habit. And now I'm finally getting to a point where it's like, okay, I can actually train like I am an
Yeah.
athlete, like I used to be, as opposed to like just going through the motions. I just need to get like the one thing I need to get a hold on is getting my steps in, and then I can focus on strength training because being at my desk all day it
Yes.
hinders that, and
Yes.
it's like I have to force it. It'll happen though.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely
yeah,
tough.
um, just owe it to my mom. I think my mom showing me gaming kind of gave me like a good frame of mind like for just being a gamer, but I
Yeah.
got so confused growing up. I didn't really until I got online, I didn't really have this connotation that you know games are not for girls.
Right.
The only extent that I got of that was growing up, like my brother was allowed to play shooters and I was not
Mm, okay.
for some time. And then as I grew up, I could have played them, but I had completely like lost the interest because I
Yeah.
wasn't allowed. So at that point, I was so far behind the skill, I didn't like enjoy it. Like you said, if I'm not good at it, I'm not going to sit there and try it. And like I
Yeah.
just couldn't catch up because everybody I knew was already. So that's a whole conversation about like why there are women's leagues and stuff,
Yeah.
because a lot of girls have the same
Yep.
experience where it's like we weren't some even weren't even allowed to play any games, and I had my DS, and I played every single Pokemon game growing up and stuff
Love
like that.
that.
And
Love that.
yeah, I got really into Pokemon, did some competitive Pokemon when I got to college, but I don't play anymore because it's a time sink for me. And
Mhm.
I stopped enjoying it after I started going competitive. So that's why I'm a big casualty.
Yeah.
I realized like I just need to have fun gaming.
Yeah.
That's my prerogative. Um, but no, it's just that I just remember my mom tells me the story uh of me playing like with my brother and his friends when I was really young. We were playing GoldenEye, which is a James Bond
Mhm.
game, and I wasn't allowed to play it because my mom told me you're not allowed to play games that have guns because I was really young. But
Yeah.
she walked in on us playing,
Oh, no.
and she goes, "What did I tell you about playing games with guns?" And I looked at her, this little kid. I was like, "Mom, I'm not playing with a gun. I have a knife." So I was always kind of like a smartass in that way. And my mom eventually realized like if I'm gonna do something, I'm just gonna do it. So
Yeah.
she's been very supportive of like my whole gaming career. Even though at first I didn't tell her that that's what I did. Like I do this thing where I'll do something and then be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, mom, I moved across the country." And she'll be like, "What?" And it's just because I know in the moment she'll freak out at me.
Yeah.
But if she knows I'm okay and it's fine, then she'll have a moment of freaking out, but then realize it's fine.
I can totally relate. I did the exact same thing with a smaller scale thing, but a tattoo. My mom does not like them, and once it's on there, I mean, what's she gonna do
Yeah.
about it? So, yeah, I
Yeah, I
can
did that with
relate. It's fun. It's
I did that with
what
my
do they
piercings
say?
too.
Easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, I think. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I got my nose pierced in college. My mom didn't know about that.
yeah,
And then after a while, it kind of like the idea of it marinated. And I remember getting these because I have 4 piercings in my nose. I remember getting these 3, and I was on a FaceTime with my mom, and I made the appointment, and I was like, I'm just gonna let her know, you know, it's fine. I let her know. Of course, she starts freaking out and like she's like, no, you told me we were getting more, and blah blah blah, and all this, and then I was like, the appointment's made. I don't know what to tell you.
yeah,
Just
it's
I want to
happening.
let you know because like I felt bad about not telling her the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember when I showed her the day I got them, and she was like, "They're kind of cute." And
She didn't
I
want to
was like,
say it. That's
"Yeah, yeah." So
funny.
she just kind of, I think at that moment she kind of understood. Like, I can't stop you from doing these things. They
Hmm.
make you happy.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I had a better childhood, I wouldn't be putting holes in my face, mom. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
Well,
kidding.
shout
I
out
had
to
a very good
moms
childhood.
for showing you some gaming and
Yeah.
supporting you along the way.
Hell
So,
yeah.
you know, we talked about this before we jumped in here, and then you mentioned music with Kevin, and that you played some instruments as well, or musician. So, walk me through some of that. When did that start for you?
I mean, I was a music kid since I started growing up. My dad was always playing Pearl Jam in the house.
Ooh, okay.
Um, but I started playing the violin in the 2nd grade, and then
Whoa.
I stopped. I was
Okay.
playing for like a year, and then I
Yeah.
stopped. And then in our school district, I was actually very fortunate to go to a school district that really funded their music program, and it was the best thing about our school district was the
Yeah.
music program. So in the 5th grade, we got to choose our instruments, and I was this close to choosing the upright bass, and then my mom was like, "Absolutely not. I'm not taking you anywhere with an instrument that big. No way." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I chose the clarinet because it was the only instrument I couldn't get a sound out of. I was just like mad and was like, "I'm going to learn it and I'm going to be the best at it." And eventually I did. But it was really weird because I remember trying out the French horn mouthpiece and my
Yeah.
band instructor being like, "You would be the most perfect French hornist. You already have the embouchure." And I'm like, "Nah, I hate the French horn. It sounds lame." But it like growing up now, the French horn is actually my favorite sounding instrument in any orchestra. So I look back on it really upset. I'm like,
Oh
could have
no.
been a French hornist. That could have been me. Um, no, but I started playing clarinet. And then in middle school, I switched to the bass clarinet to get back to my mom because it's a huge clarinet, and I just had to like lug it around anyway. I was like,
It sounds
hell
like
yeah,
there's some rebellion in here.
a
Like the
little bit,
instrument that
maybe,
fits in and it's easy. Nah, I don't want
maybe,
that.
exactly.
Gotta get the big one because mom said no. Gotta get the
I
piercings. Mom doesn't
definitely,
like it.
yeah, I definitely would consider myself a rebel, little anarchist in me.
Yeah.
Um, but no, so I play the bass clarinet, which is just what it is. It's like a big clarinet. It's a lot lower, and I like
Yeah.
playing bass lines better. I was gonna be a string bassist, but so I chose the next best thing. And I did that. I was in pretty good bands, top bands. The highlight of my band career, because I did marching band too, and I liked marching band. It was cool, but it was just like if you're a marching band kid, like it's a love hate thing, especially
Yeah.
if you don't like go into marching band in college. Because I was going to, and then I kind of like pulled out last minute. I was like, no, I don't want this to be my entire life.
Mm.
Because I was gonna go, I wanted to go to Ohio State for marching band because they had a really good
Oh.
marching band, but I decided not to because I think I got in, but I got more of a scholarship somewhere else
Yeah.
anyway. So I was like, nah, no marching band, whatever. played bass clarinet, and my best moment for band was being able to play at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra Hall. I think I don't remember what it's called, but it's where the Chicago Symphony Orchestra plays, like right on Michigan Avenue in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that was so fun. So that picture I posted on Twitter was from that concert. It was really cool.
That is.
I felt really cool.
We'll keep on the music subject. So you said that Kevin played in a band for your like favorite genre of music. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So he's in a prog metal / rock band.
Yeah.
Yeah, more prog rock, I would say.
Yeah.
And he's the keyboardist or the pianist.
Oh,
he plays the keys. Yeah.
Okay, one of my favorite instruments. I don't play any. I would have loved to spend some time on instruments. I look at this and I invested a ton of time. Like I mean, I would say almost all of my time as a child into sports,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't regret it. It was fun. I love competing. I still think it's a big part of who I am. But those are things that end after like 20, right? But an instrument, I mean, you could keep rocking that thing forever. So that's something I look at, and I wish that maybe I would have done like some, a little bit of instrument.
There's still time.
There is still time, and it's never too late. I know, but
right, you have to invest a part of your time for that. So.
I love music, and so I love hearing opinions about music or different takes about music. So you like what kinds of music? Maybe give us some artists or bands that you like to listen to.
I guess it depends on what I'm doing, because I have a very like wide taste when it comes to music. When I'm like playing Rocket League or just like working and need to focus or something like that, I like listening to like instrumental progressive metal, like Animals as Leaders, or like instrumental progressive rock like Polyphia or Intervals. Scale the Summit is a really good band. So bands like that, like I like atmospheric type music as well. In that genre. So things that are like technically, like I guess it's like math metal is another thing. Math metal, because the music itself is really complicated. Like the time signatures, which are like how the beats are separated, is really, really complicated, and it'll change and stuff like that. So it's kind of like just a lot of like noise, and like every time I listen through it, I can hear something else happening, like whether it's the drums or the lead guitarist, and I like it doesn't have words, because I love singing along to songs, and if I'm trying to focus on something with words, I'm gonna sing. Same. And I can't not. So that's what I listen to most of the time. But stuff with lyrics, I like Post Malone a lot, just because I fell in love with him as a person, and I remember I would go frequent Lollapalooza growing up, because I lived near Chicago. And the first time I ever saw Post Malone, I didn't know who he was. I knew the song "Congratulations" had like blown up and come out. And I was watching Flosstradamus. It was like an EDM artist, because none of the other headliners seemed interesting. And he brought out like one of the Spice Girls, a Chicago Bull player, and then Post Malone. It was the most random thing ever. And I was like, oh, I know the song. And so like I looked him up when I got home, and like I just fell in love with his vibe. And I never thought I would be into like I guess he's like pop rap ish. I didn't think I would like it, but I love him. So Post Malone, I got to see him at Lolla headlining 2 years ago. So good. I love that guy.
I have I've only been to a couple of live concerts, and neither of them were. I was a tag along for both, is what I'm saying. I dated a girl from 6th grade to my junior year of college, so we were together for a long time. Yeah, and I went with her to a Taylor Swift concert, which was banger. Taylor Swift put on a great show.
She does. I have heard she does put on a great show.
Incredible, actually. And then I also went with her to a Justin Bieber concert, and this was when he was a lot younger at this point. He was probably, I don't know, 17, maybe 18 or so. And I was blown away, because he's not just a singer. He's also like a musician. He plays like multiple instruments. And at one point in the concert, like he sat down at the drum kit and just started banging away. And I was like, whoa. okay, this dude is good.
He's legit, yeah.
So those are the only two that I've been to, and I really enjoy both of them, but they were not like my own selections.
Mhm.
So I really, really want to go to some live shows. I am a stan of Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, yeah.
I freaking love his music, and I want to see. I want
Yeah,
to see
tough
him
going to
perform
a Kendrick
once.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
S
think what would be
seldom.
really fun is to go to a festival where I could see multiple artists. What is it called? Is it called Austin City Lights or Limits?
Oh, it's
Or
Limits. Yeah, I've heard Austin City Limits is good.
I think that isn't that one that's got quite a few. It typically will have hip hop artists. I know some of these shows kind of cater to certain themes and may have one or two
Yeah.
hip hop artists, but I'm big time into hip hop. But I'm the same way. I like a lot of different music, and I am also the same in the sense that I don't want lyrics if I'm focused on something. Like stream, I always play lo-fi because if there's words, like I cannot keep my thoughts straight. Um, but yeah, I like exploring. I like learning new artists. Specifically, I do love the hip hop genre. So,
Yeah.
but it's very fun to find an artist. You know, you like one or two songs. You're like, okay, let me dig, and then you go back to like the very first album that they released or whatever. It's so much fun to go through their like progression as an artist to where
Mhm.
they are today. So yeah, I love music. I think it's such a special form of art where they're being so vulnerable and they're telling a story or showing something to you or sharing something with you. I think
Yeah.
it's something that I didn't recognize until I started like digging a little bit more. I mean, I would almost say researching,
Mhm.
which sounds weird because you just like hear the music. I think a lot of people just hear the music on the radio and like bob their head and like that's it. But I gained so much more appreciation for the artists and um, their art pieces, which are their songs and albums. When I started to dig a little bit more, I've listened to there's this podcast called Dissect, and he like goes into this deep dive analysis of like lyrics and bars and the different meanings of things. And I mean, it is just mind boggling, how incredible
The
and how
layers
deep.
some musicians or
Oh my
artists can
goodness. There's
have.
so, like certain notes or sampling is obviously very popular in hip hop. And so certain samples from certain songs is like attributes to this. It's stuff that if you, like I said, if you don't research, if you don't dig, you won't, it's just a sound. You won't catch it.
Yeah.
Right. So I have gained an immense amount of appreciation and just admiration for these artists and the time and effort that they put into their music. So when you were talking about the math metal, you were talking about how it's maybe like unique, or the word that came to my mind is like experimental, maybe
Yeah, a little bit. I think
like kind of
it's
off the beaten path of what's normal for
right.
music.
I think it kinda has the same vibes for some people that
Yeah.
dubstep did when it first came out. It was
Oh,
a bit
okay.
chaotic,
Yeah,
and
chaotic. Yeah,
if you didn't like the sound at first, like, you probably
it's
won't.
very
Yeah.
off-putting immediately. Do you?
Yeah, some of them are like I think it depends obviously on the quality of the production and stuff like
Sure.
that, and being able to hear all the parts, but it's just not in everyone's cup of tea because it's
Yeah.
so complicated that there's
Hmm.
no chorus you're singing along to or anything like that.
Yes.
Sometimes the theme, you can hear the theme, but if you're not like actually listening to every like if I feel like if you're not like a musician or you don't know that kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
you'll miss it and maybe it won't be as appealing to you. But when I know like the process and having to do something and then hearing it done and it's so complicated, it like blows my mind. So that's why I really
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I was gonna be a band teacher when I first went to college.
Yeah.
So I got to learn a lot of instruments my first couple semesters, and it's like I have all this knowledge of music. I don't apply it anymore like as playing, so I kind of like reach for that in the songs that I listen
Yeah.
to. I need to discover more music though. That's something that I
Well,
have a hard time doing.
I was
Just going
asking
and
because
discovering.
I recently started listening to JPEG Mafia, and he is in the hip hop genre, but he is experimental and chaotic. The word that you use is like definitely what I would use to describe some of
Mm,
the production. It's very all over the place. I think a lot of especially like mainstream popular music almost has like this cookie cutter template of like intro, like you
mm,
mentioned, chorus, this, and it's very digestible. It's very
mm.
recognizable. It's very
There's a
satisfying and like,
formula, yeah.
yeah, it's just easy. It's good. It's you like that. You can recognize it. You can relate to it. It's simple, and it doesn't challenge, like you're saying, for you to have that knowledge to appreciate it, or to go a little bit deeper and research why is this so chaotic. And JPEG Mafia, the first time I listened to it, that's how I felt. I was like, whoa, like this is all over the place. This is crazy. But I'm trying to give things more of a chance before I just put them off. And the more that I listened to it, I was like, okay, actually, this is insane. I really like this. And I just had his recent album with Danny Brown. I've had that, and another album, Tyler the Creator, his recent release of The Estate Sale. I've had those two on flip flop whenever I'm running and stuff, and those have been my go-to. But if you want to try some new music, if you like hip hop, of course, try JPEG Mafia. Their stuff is incredible. It's also really like, it's unique in the sense that he talks a lot about like social topics or internet culture. I feel like that's not very common in hip hop, but he's pretty in tune. Like one of the bars that he delivers on his album is about like Elon and Kanye and Twitter. He also talks about Kai Cenat and Twitch. So like he's very, up to date with trends.
He's logged in. Yeah, he's online.
He's logged in. That's not locked in. He's logged in.
He's logged in.
That is so funny.
I'll be like, I'm online. Whenever like I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed, I'm like, I'm online right now. Yeah. In MySpace, whenever you're online, it'll give you that little thing that said online now. It's like orange and green. That's how I feel. That vibe. Like I'm like when I'm up to date on like online trends, I'm like, I'm logged in.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask this question because I think this one, it's probably uncomfortable for us, but I also think it's good to share these things. Is there anything that you could think of, whether it's from you being younger or more recently or whatever, that is like a proud moment or an accomplishment that you hold dear, that you just, you think about it and it just makes you feel really, really good about yourself?
Well, honestly, I think in my whole life, and this might be like silly, but I would never expect myself to have a blue title in Rocket League, and I have one. So winning the Gridiron Games, like not once, but like 2 times, was both times very surreal. But the first time, especially the team that it was me, Riz, Sizz, and Turtle.
Yeah.
It felt like a dream because I had started watching Rocket League. I started watching like those guys making content.
Yeah.
And then to win a major tournament against Johnny Boy, Turbo Pulsa, and oh man, who is there? 3rd and 4th. I just remember Turbo because I always like to bring it up.
Genuine, actual goats of the scene.
Yeah, basically, like I just did not think that it would end up that way. And the grand final game, the one that we had won, I didn't realize that it was the final game. So when the ball hit the ground at 0 and everybody else in the Discord started screaming, I was confused and I was like, "Wait, did we just win? Did we just win? Did we win that?" And I think that's the reason why I won, because I was kind of chilled out. I wasn't like freaking out, like, "Oh my god, if we lose this," and so it was like a pivotal moment. It might seem silly to some because it's not like an official tournament. I'm not an RLCS pro or anything, but it felt like I was doing the right thing. I was on the right path, and to be recognized in that way was cool. I mean, getting a title in game for being married to Kevin is cool as well.
Absolutely.
But I think as a solo accomplishment and like just that feeling was pretty cool.
So I
felt like a true gamer. Yeah.
I definitely don't think it's silly. I think if there's someone that's looking at it and saying, "Well, it's not a real blue title," blah blah blah, that's ridiculous.
It is though. It is blue.
The thing is, I think, and this is I'll talk about myself. Just being invited to those is an accomplishment. Like,
oh yeah,
I felt insane the first time that I got to play in an event like that, and much less going on to win it, and then win another one. That is crazy. So I definitely think that's something to be proud of, and no amount of silly comments trying to belittle it or whatever. You should not let that impact your feelings about it, because it's definitely something that you should be proud of. I like asking that question because I think, I think like the way that you prefaced it kind of shows exactly why I like asking it, because I think it's very easy for us to like minimize our accomplishments I think it's very easy for us to, you know, hear a couple of, you know, I don't know, negative opinions about it and be like, yeah, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But it is a big deal, and it is something we should be proud of. And, you know, there's a difference between like running around and like the first thing you do is like, hey, I'm Neato Queen and I am a gridiron champion. You know, like that, you're not doing that. But like being proud of something that you accomplished is a great thing. I know there are certainly things that I'm proud of as well. And I think it's just, you know, it's important to share those things and recognize them and to just be proud of them. So the gridiron champion, the two-time gridiron champion at that.
Yeah, the two-time. I mean, somebody was like technically 3-time, but like the one that we had won was honorary. So I don't.
We kind of got 2.5
time. 2.5 time.
We kind of got scammed on that one. It's funny because that is actually the first event that I ever got to play in, and as far as the psionics thing, and it was scuffed to the max. But I was excited to play nonetheless. I actually still have. I'll occasionally on stream I'll scroll through. People will ask about my car designs, and I'll scroll through, and I still have that Vikings set up because it was the first time that I ever got to play on the main Rocket League stream, and it's definitely. I mean, it's a proud moment for me. You know, something that we didn't win it, and there was nothing to win, but just being invited to something like that, and you know, being on the main Rocket League stream, this game that you know, you create content for, and the fact that I was able to, at least for now, have a career out of it. You know, it's just surreal. I think you said that word. I think is a great word to describe it. It's a very powerful experience, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's just unreal.
Yeah, and winning it. Though. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get a title, but the Gold Rush land, I felt so excited to win that.
That was so. You're gonna tell him that, you know, you paid me to give you a magic bear? You're gonna tell him finally? No, I'm just kidding. When I look back and the moment, I'm like, I really did that.
The thing is, I don't blame you though. You locked into a theme.
I think that was like my whole mindset.
Exactly.
And I never want either of those boys to feel like they were not the optimal choice, because they were. We had a really great time. It was fun. And I didn't get not last. That was like my whole thing. I'm like, I'm just trying not to get last, and we didn't. So.
You know what? I don't have any qualms with your pick. I think they were awesome picks. The thing is, everything lined up so beautifully for me because Wavepunk absolutely trapped Supersonic into going full V1. I mean, Supersonic had there's no way that he could be like...
Oh, it was Wavepunk that was paid off.
It was Wavepunk that hooked me up. And then yours, I totally understand. You had a theme. Athena, I mean, I get it, you know, playing with people that she's like friends with or at least has history with. And hey, I was definitely not upset about it. I mean...
Sleeper, though.
Like I said, as soon as the pick got back to me, I was like, yeah... It's over. We already won.
You said, yeah, you kept saying it, and I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, well, time to get not last. That was like the whole thing.
Dude, the thing is, I was confident, but I had no idea that Magic Bear was just like extra mode GOAT. He was
even like on top of him being like forgotten about being so good at Rocket League itself. Yes. He also does play extra modes, which is rare for a pro.
Knockout. I couldn't remember the name. Dude, the first time we played, there are 3 players that have 3 lives.
He killed everybody.
He got 9 kills. That's all of them. Like me and Justin literally did nothing, and Magic Bear wiped the map. That guy was insane at knockout. He was so good at those.
I love knockout too, and I was good, but he was
different.
He was a lot better. Yeah.
Oh man, what a good time. Well, Neato, I don't want to keep you too long. We are closing in on an hour here, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
Sure.
I do appreciate you taking some time. And I like to finish off with this. I asked Rizzo as well. Don't feel like you need to say anything, but if there's anything that has been on your mind, something that you want to say, whether it is about you and your own situation or maybe the Rocket League scene or maybe something larger in general, feel free to do so. And if not, we could go ahead and close it on up.
I just want to I guess I want to remind everybody listening to just be kinder to yourself, because that's something that I'm working on. Just like not being so hard on myself, because like I was talking about earlier, it's like we're in complete control of our feelings, but we are not our initial thoughts. We have We have very reactive brains. We will be mean to ourselves. But you can be mean to the mean part of you, you know? Like, tell them that they're wrong. Like, whatever your brain is saying, you're not what you're thinking all the time.
Yeah.
And you can change that at any point. You just have to make a conscious effort. It's hard at first, but then it becomes a lot easier. Just a habit thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. We do need to be more kind to ourselves in a tough world, in some tough times. The last thing we need is to pile on and just be more negative to ourselves. So love yourself. Be kind to others. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.